Hello,
Oh my gosh, is that Glenn Street, the legend himself?
the legend himself.
Oh my goodness.
Phil, how's it going? Good to see you. Hi, everybody.
Oh, Chad King. Oh my gosh.
Charles,
Whoa.
good to see you. Shannon's on. So many amazing, familiar faces. Well, we're so excited to have you guys. We're going to go ahead and kick it off. Thanks for joining today's call. We have been each individually getting a ton of requests. People are very afraid of what AI is doing. And within our networks, people we know and love have lost jobs or are starting to lose their businesses when they're in things like marketing and bookkeeping and all kind of stuff. And I just watched an interview with Elon Musk on what he sees AI doing over the next five years, and I got nervous. We get nervous because of the unknown. We get nervous because of I guess the horror movies with robots and things like that as well, which could very much become real. Nobody truly knows exactly, but it is moving very, very quickly. And so we wanted to do a call because we are the abundance crew that know that opportunity never goes away. It only switches places. And I started GeForce in 2020, and that year, almost everybody that was part of that community either doubled or quadrupled their income, which was amazing because we'd get on the phone every single week and we would share where opportunity is going. Newsom taught everybody stocks. We were learning how and where to invest in real estate. Real estate was doing crazy things. And we thrived in a time that so many other people were losing their butts and terrified. And so this is one of those moments. It's not quite a giant economic shutdown that wipes the world as we know it off the face of the planet. But it feels like that to a lot of people. And we wanted to jump on and go through, yes, AI is going to replace jobs, but
It will.
this is your opportunity to elevate. And so if you don't know how to invest in assets, it's time you learn. But I want to share from my life experience, the most important thing you can possibly do when it comes to learning how to invest is to get really clear on your why. And today I'm going to have the opportunity to share two of my mentors with you guys that have taught me some of the most important things that it comes to the practical level of investing. But for me, I never wanted to be in business. I never thought I would have wealth. My life calling started at 12 when I watched a documentary about sex trafficking, and I realized that I could have been that little girl. And with that really powerful aerial perspective on my life, that I am not working for me. I am not working for just accumulation because those weren't motivating to me. Those might need to be motivating to you, depending on where you are in life. But I'm just not driven by that because what I was working towards was so much bigger than me. And I realized that these little girls had no one looking for them if I did nothing. That allowed me to transcend the crazy amount of pain from people that you love and care about stabbing you in the back or me in the back. Being the only female in construction at 21 in the South, like at that level that I was doing at, not having investors believe in me, navigating the toughest economic meltdown in real estate history was when I started, family turning on me, living in my car. It was so many different hard things I went through, and that why made me keep going. Because as you start in this journey towards anything meaningful in life, guys, you have to get really clear on your foundation. And for me, when God is your foundation, there's no limit to how high you can go. And for you, you've got to figure out what is that foundation? What's going to allow me to not get rocked when things like COVID happen, when hurricanes happen, when divorces happen, when people that, again, you care about turn on you and make up lies about you. Like the enemy is after your identity. And the most important thing you can possibly have clear is knowing who you are. And if you've never taken the time to do that exercise, I want you to write it out. And even if you're not that person every day, because there's no such thing as a perfect person, how can you start acting as that person every single day until your habits reflect that reality? And so, again, before we talk about investing, and becoming abundant, becoming people who change the world as a force for good, you really have to get clear on the most important thing, which is your why. And so as we continue through this call and we move from a fear mindset into a faith mindset, I want to define abundance because this for me was really important. I used to, I think because of Disney or whatever, my raising, the church I grew up in, whatever, I used to think that it was evil to have money and that all rich people were bad guys. And for me, I really wanted to do God's work. And so it was associated in my mind that having money means you're not doing God's work. And my relationship with the Lord is like an important thing to me. So when you realize that having abundance gives you the ability to do God's work, it's a totally different reframe. And for me, that awakening came when I was really going in BVI after the hurricanes, and I saw people who lost everything. And then I saw people who had more than enough able to jump in and send in Convoy of Hope and feed the whole country for 120 days. I saw Richard Branson using his uh, giant catamaran, this beautiful, biggest catamaran in the world at the time, the Necker Belt, as a rescue boat. I saw Larry Page use his helicopter to deliver aid to remote islands. And that's when I saw, oh my gosh, I can't just barely be paying my bills. For some reason, I used to think that was holy. I just want enough for myself and my family. I want enough to be able to have enough for myself and my family, but also more than enough so that I could fund the things and the needs that are right in front of me. Because now I have access to the front line of need through aerial recovery, which is like beautiful, but there's too many dang requests. This woman just got shot 11 times and they can't take her in because they don't have a mattress. It's $200. Are you going to say no to that? Of course, you're going to say yes to that. But when you have 50 of those requests a week, how do I operate from more than enough so that it's not just a one-time donation giving and I can summon that stuff for my friends? So I want you guys to start with realizing that childhood belief systems could be blocking you from everything you're called to walk in. I had to get very real with myself and know that me believing it was holy to be poor is not going to serve this amazing calling to be able to help millions of people over my lifetime. Type a one if this is helpful so far, guys. All right. Our big goal is to grow the force for good. That's what Polly, myself, Jay Money Newsom, and I, that's what we want to do in this world. We want to grow the force for good. It's something I think the church is supposed to do. I think that's what all of us are called to do is to be love and light on this one chance we've got on this planet. And we hope that you guys are ignited to taking those next steps. All right. So if you didn't know, just before we start getting into the nitty-gritty of learning how to invest, if you think for 1 second and you believe the lie that darkness tries to plant in your head is that either the world is better off without you in it, or that you have no power and you have no influence, you're not amazingly impactful, that is the biggest lie. And if you need a wake-up call, please come with me to Honduras at any point or any country that we're doing a mission trip on, and I will show you why the world needs you to wake the freak up and start stepping into your calling. Just three quick issues is human trafficking. We had to update all of our dang presentations because it went from $150 billion a year industry to $230 billion a year. And we found children as inexpensive as $7 for 24 hours. You can do something about that if that is something that's resonating with you. 40 million people every year are being trafficked. 27% are children under 10. Okay? Horrible. Hunger. We've dealt with this in America to the point that we've got an obesity issue. We've figured out hunger, guys. We've figured it out. But there's still 690 million people going to bed every night with an empty stomach. And if you want a real wake-up call, look at a starving child. You will never, I say you'll be messed up in all the best ways. You're forever messed up when you meet a starving child. You're like, my life matters. I can do something. I have access to the internet. I have access to AI. I can learn the skills to make enough money to pay my bills and more. And water. 3.4 million people are still dying each year from unclean water. And I've met the mom whose 2-year-old died of diarrhea from little worms and parasites in there, and she'll never get that child back. So my point is you are fiercely blessed And it's what you do with those blessings, what you choose to activate into that matters in your lifetime. And I want you to look back on your life and have one that you're proud of. But wealth and abundance is a tool. It's a tool. So one of the more impactful quotes on my life that I witnessed in spending time with people who rescue kids from trafficking is I was hearing their stories. This is when I first got into it, and I would just have to take cry breaks because I'm like, I thought the world had problems, but I didn't realize that there was this level of evil out there. And I asked them like, how do you still believe in God when you've seen people do such wicked things? And I guess God allows it. And they said, Brittany, evil will rise when good men and women do nothing. It's not that they're meant to stay in that. It's that the people who are called to do something about it are drinking their life away, are TikToking their life away, are destroying their relationships so they don't have a powerhouse united front as a family to be able to do something about it. And they do those things because they don't realize the power and the access they have to do something. And I want to wake all of you up today to know that you can do something. And again, instead of money, I used to think there's like a ticking time bomb. If I have X amount of dollars in my bank account, I would then become a bad person. And I didn't know when that mystery number would hit to where you become just like greedy. Weird upbringing on money. But I've now learned that money is simply an expansion tool of the heart. So if you put money in a good person's hand, what are they going to do? Good things. If you put money in a bad person's hand, they're going to do bad things. And so I believe you guys join this call because you are the good people who want to make a meaningful difference in moving the needle of humanity forward in your lifetime. And I would like to see you plus money and see the change that you make on this planet. That's why I'm going to introduce you to my mentors because they are hands down better than me. They are better than me at their skills. Now, I've learned a lot from Polly, which has been amazing. Real estate has learning how to be an investor in real estate has changed the entire course of my life. I mean, it's changed everything. I wouldn't be able to talk or know anybody. I wouldn't be married to Jeremy. Like, wouldn't have an island. Like, none of that. I would have nothing had I not taken the time to learn this skill and put in the work. But again, if you aren't where you want to be, there's a reason. And so I do want you to take the time to write this down is what do I want abundance for? And it's okay to have the selfish things on there to like pay my bills, get out of debt, take my family on vacation. But if you close your eyes and you're 95 years old, looking back on your life, what did you really get to do if you took the time to learn a skill that makes you $100,000 on one house or $20,000 a month from an apartment complex that you bought? Or God, I don't even know what kind of money, Newsom, you're going to talk about in a minute because it's unbelievable. Just clicking buttons. So frustrating to me how easy he makes his money versus all of the truckfuls of supplies and carrying I've done in my lifetime. But there is so much access to creating wealth in our lifetime and with AI. And I just want you to see it for what it is and how blessed we are if you can get your mind right. So, in my pursuit of becoming a force for good and wanting to stop people from trafficking children, that was my main thing. Obviously, it's expanded now. I studied, all right, what are the common denominators of all wealthy people? This is when I was like first living in my car and trying to figure this out. And the two things that popped up were all wealthy people, super wealthy people, invest in real estate and they invest in stocks. And so I said, all right, well, if they end up doing that, why don't I just go straight to doing that? And with that, I'm going to introduce you to Polly Kazanovsky. Polly, are you here?
Yes, I am. How's everybody doing today? We're bringing the energy. Don't you love Brittany? I love you. You give me way too much credit, by the way.
I can't.
But
I can't.
I'm so happy to be here. And, quite honestly, I'm hearing Brittany talk and I'm seeing all the happy faces on this call. I'm just kind of scrolling around. But I'm actually doing what we talk about. I'm not a guru. I look good in a suit, but it's not like I wear one every day. I'm not some guru guy, but
You look good
like,
in
like,
everything, Polly.
thank you, buddy. You too. I need to grow me a nice beard like you have, but just to really focus, you heard we all talk about AI. I want to look at AI as a positive thing, how it could make your business better. But the truth is, there's a lot of people losing their jobs. Lawyers are not abundant anymore because a lot of people could do the work online on Chat GBT and get what they need more now than ever. You know, the world's constantly changing, but if you just did something like real estate or stocks that actually have a tangible it's a tangible pursuit to make money. And I'm in a house right now. And right before we jumped on this call, I said, hey man, I'm gonna be at a house. So let's just talk about real estate the way it's really done. It's one house at a time. It's one person, one opportunity. Are you guys in the right room? Are you rubbing elbows with the right people? Are you getting the right education to change your lives? You all might have a regular job right now, or you might own a business, or you might be studying to own a business or getting into a different field. But real estate can be done if you have all that happening already. You could invest in real estate and it's like real bricks and sticks, right? You could invest in big buildings, you could invest in a small little house, but people always worry about, can we get the money to do this, or can I get the education? It is here, but you have to put yourself in the right situations. You folks are putting yourselves in the right situation because you're on this call. You know Brittany. You want better for your life. And it's not just about money. Brittany talked about it very eloquently. It's if you have a desire to be successful in the world of making more money, it doesn't make you greedy. And I was a poor kid too. And I had to reshift and reposition the way I thought about money in order to accept money to come to me. And that's what we're talking about, having that abundant mind. And to be able to just accept that if I learned this education and put it to action, it could change my life. And with that, I could help change other people's life and have purpose with it. So if you are like me and Brittany that had that little upbringing where, oh, the rich people are bad and you shouldn't want more money, it's not true. It's actually, if you're a good person, it allows you to open up doors for others that might not have those paths, if you will. You know, they grew up in a bad part of town or in a different country. Some of the human trafficking numbers I was listening to is just outstanding. And it's crazy what's happening. And it just keeps getting worse. And it takes people like us that we can stop things like that. But we need to be in the right room. So one person, one opportunity. Think if you just learned how to buy one home that's off market or discounted and it needs a little bit of paint and a little bit of work, and you reposition that property, it could make you hundreds of thousands of dollars, just that one property. And I have story after story, and Brittany knows. And I've been doing this a very long time, but I remember my first deal, I made $33,000 on my first deal. Can you imagine? You walk out of a closing with $33,000 check going, okay, I can do something with this. And this is the kind of abundance that we want you guys to learn from people like us, because we actually do this. We don't just talk about it, we do this on a daily. And, you know, people say, well, the real estate market's a little down. Yeah, it might be a little down, but if you have the proper education, you're ahead of the curve. That's what we're talking about here. Yes, things are changing. AI is taking jobs. But when you have the education, you're around the right abundant mindsets, that's what changes to
Yeah.
where you're ahead of the curve. That's what we're talking about. Get ahead of the curve. What are the best jobs to be? Well, no one could replace somebody fixing a house. AI cannot do that. If you wanted to get into plumbing, electric, AC work, you know, remodeling, construction, you can't replace it. But we use AI to be quicker, faster, put out better bids, cleaner bids. So there's a way to use AI to help you be better in your individual perspective areas that you work in. For us in real estate, it's helping us do quicker due diligence on properties. Where we used to spend hours and hours upon hours looking and deep diving, we could just go to AI and boom, we have our answers. So, yes, is the real estate market a little harder? Yes, but using AI in the real estate market and learning from people that actually implement this every day will get you there faster. So you work less. Yes, it's harder, but you work less. And now you're getting the deals quicker and the due diligence come back quicker. You putting in offers, there's a quicker way to do it with AI. So it's just about getting that education. I wanted to really focus on that and just listen to the words that we say because this is so possible and it doesn't make you bad if you want more so that you can be abundant and be abundant to the people around you. Abundance is not just about the money, it's what you can do with that money and the attitude. I'm always like this. I'm always energetic. I'm always positive. I talk with my hands and everything because I've done this in my life. And that's made me abundant to where I can take somebody with a bad attitude that I just bump into on a daily and I could turn their attitude around. That's being abundant. Even with my kids, being abundant, making them a better human, a better character driven guy. That's being abundant. All of these things matter when you're with the right people, you know. And look at what Brittany. She was the right person. She worked with me for 9 months. She was just a young girl. She had a dream. Her why? It's about changing her why.
Mm.
Why do you want it? And I used to ask Brittany this, why? Why do you want it? And her why was so deep. And it was about others and about purpose. And you have to, it can't just be about buying a new car because that shiny object just goes away. You could buy the car you always wanted, the house you always wanted, that goes away. But having purpose and that why, the why you're doing it, because motivation, it could be high on some days and low on some days. But if you could adjust on why you need the education and why it's important for you to have that abundance in your life, that's what's going to keep you going. It's not just a fact of motivation because sometimes we wake up and we're not that motivated.
Right.
I usually am, and I don't even drink coffee. Can you believe
Polly.
it?
This is a picture of me and Polly outside of my very first deal. I was a partner in
Oh,
Bluewater
Butler. Is that
Drive.
Butler?
Yeah, this is
Is that
Bluewater.
on?
This is
Oh,
Bluewater.
Blue Water. Okay, yeah,
Bluewater
yeah.
Drive. And what I love is like Polly's still out there doing it, guys. What are the numbers on the house you're doing real quick?
This house here, uh, they were asking 180. We got it for 130. It doesn't need that much work. We're going to keep it as a rental. So think about this. Let's look at this house I'm standing in.
Yeah.
It's a 3 bedroom, 1 bath. It's 1,200 square feet. It's on a quarter acre. Okay. The comparables in this area is around 250. Okay. Not it's entry level. I'm keeping this and doing a DSCR loan. We talked about one opportunity, one deal. I'm not talking about I own 400 plus rental properties. We're talking about this one, okay? So let's say I buy this for 130 and I put 20,000. It's actually rentable right now, but you know me, I like it a little bit better so I could give somebody a nicer place. And I do a good due diligence and we use AI to help us with the due diligence like I talked about. We put a good renter in here and on a DSCR loan, my payment on here is going to be maybe somewhere close to about $1,000. That's what taxes, insurance, and the payment. Okay, I could rent it out for about 17.95. Let's even say 1650 just to rent it out. That 650 doesn't sound like a lot, but here's how I pay off houses quick. I take whatever's left over and I put it towards the principal. You don't hear anybody teaching it that way. They want you to over leverage, 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 over leverage. Take the money out and go buy more and go buy more. No, you don't have to do that because there's always a rainy day. So, what's the numbers? In 10 years from now, making the regular payment and putting that extra 600 to 650 a month, okay, in it, I will pay this off in 10 years. In 10 years, this house in this area, and judging by the growth that I already have, the facts of what the last 10 years was in growth, okay, not counting the false numbers in COVID, I'm talking about real, true, average growth. Okay, this house will be worth somewhere around 350 to close to 400. That will be owned, sorry, um, in 10 years. That's how you, one deal. The average American doesn't even retire anymore with more than 250,000. Can you imagine doing one deal? It's not hard to manage your own one property. You hear these horror stories, people don't pay me. It's the lazy people that don't have the education on putting the right people in their property. It's the education and the will to succeed and put the right people, deep dive the people, do the due diligence. They have to, there's a criteria that we teach people on who to put in these type of homes, right? And then even if I wanted to buy it at 130, put 20 to 25,000 in and sell it for 250, I would probably make 30,000 pretty quick on this house anyway. So there's so many ways
Yes.
to do what we're talking about, but it's about getting in the right room and learning from people that are actually doing it and not read it out of a book.
Yes. Or
And that's
chat
the
how
difference.
to be a coach, which I said I love. I was literally on the phone. I was like, Polly, you need to be behind a computer. He's like, but I'm out doing deals. I'm
I'm
putting
doing this
offers
for a
right
living.
now. I'm like, okay.
We were
Well,
laughing
that's
before I
the
got on this
best
call
part.
because, yeah.
That's
Well, I
the
love you guys. I'm just happy you're here, and I appreciate you just being a part of this because I love igniting people. And like I didn't grow up with anything either. And now I live such a good life. And I mean, some of you guys even know my kids and you see what they're doing. I got to do that. I had a hand in that. I've helped the charities and that abundant. If you have the passion to make more money, it is not about lining your pockets with more money. It's about being able to do some great things with that money. That's what we deliver. And by the way, even if you did want it to buy bigger things and houses, that's your prerogative. You made the money,
yes.
you
And
know?
that's abundance too. Again,
Yeah, that's fun.
you serve the God of the entire universe. There's no amount of things that is too much for God. But it's again having your heart in the right place. And that's the power of being in the right room. And one of the things about I love about Newsom is he wants to take it from the 1% to the 2%. I just freaking love that because wealth in the hands of the right people will change the world. And I just want to show you guys, I just love this picture because again, I was so proud. You can see me like beaming about doing my first deal. And there's so much power being in the room. And when I first started, before I met Polly, I was like, when I was around people doing $10,000 deals, I made $10,000. When I was around people making $100,000 a deal, I made $100,000. I started hanging out with island owners. I got an island, and so it meant the world to me on our very first Abundance Summit to be able to show Polly that that little blue water. If you see the video here, Polly, of that little blue water turned into my top real estate investment so far is a private island that is used to change the world. And I just want you guys to be inspired because you're on the call. If it's possible for me, it's possible for you, and you all have that authority to be in the right rooms, to listen to the people you want to be like, and to take the good and leave the bad. Everybody's got something imperfect about them, but it's important. So, Polly, you talked about cracking the code by shifting your mindset. What is the most important shift in mindset that these people can walk away with today, in your opinion?
Well, the most important is really truly the education, because I think if you don't have the knowledge, the fear sets in, and everybody allows fear to set in. I mean, look, we all go through that as humans, but the more knowledge, the more education you have, it eliminates the fear. It repositions the way you look at fear, and you realize, well, it was just something I didn't understand or I didn't know. And quite honestly, it is numbers, learning the numbers, like how to buy off market, or for at least what I do. You know, obviously there's other deep diving, and I'm sure Jeremy's going to talk about it and stuff. But for me, it was definitely accepting it, repositioning, and understanding that the education was so powerful and learning it from people that actually do it, quite
Yeah,
honestly.
I love that. I love that. All right, type of five if you got something out of Polly. All right, so we asked each other, what's our top tips for people who want to, maybe you operating from a place of fear with AI to learning how to buy assets. So my top tip was to have a powerful why. Polly's is get the education. And J Money Newsome, one of my very best friends, I liquid assets. So J Money, I'm turning it over to you because we just covered some real estate stuff. Now we're going into the stocks. Let's do it.
Oh, let's do it, team. First, I got to take like 10 seconds. Can everyone do me a small favor and take a deep breath in through the nose? Because I'm looking at this Zoom panel and I feel so proud and happy and joyful to see so many friends here. Like people I've known for years, people that I've met, who I've hugged, who I've worked with, who I've coached with, who I've lost with, who I've won with. And it's so awesome to see so many people like my girl Shannon, one of the OGs and Joes at every webinar I've ever done, and Dan, who moved to Costa Rica to follow his dreams. Like it's just so remarkable. So I just want to say thank you because, team, we've been doing this for 6 years now. Brittany, 6 years. I mean, the ability for all of us to just sometimes keep going and keep showing up when you don't want to is not only abundance, but it's also kind of one of the best skills that we can all have. And the reason that I use this word liquid specifically on this slide is because so many of us might think about money as a tangible thing. And although it certainly can be, one of the quickest hacks that I ever give someone, if you want to change your relationship around money, call it something different. And you can start by calling it the word currency, because currency is a current and currents are liquid. So it's flowing in, flowing out, flowing to you, for you, and through you. And when you start thinking about what it is and how it actually moves and how you can shift your beingness around receiving more, having more, and holding more, type in an 8 if you would agree that it's pretty hard to hold water. So you can hold some, but you're going to have to build something. You have to build a container. You have to start creating something to hold this current, because making money and keeping money are two different energies. And for the next 24 minutes, I not only want to talk about stocks, but I also would love to just share insights that not only have we received over the last 6 years, but we've poured into people, hundreds, if not thousands of people, and helped them elevate their lives into places that they might not have even recognized 4 or 5 years ago. People that are actually making incredible life-changing income, sure, but opportunities, friendships, and networks. So we're going to go one slide. Andrew says bigger container time. That's right. Because here, I mean, on this call, we wanted to pour into AI. We want to talk about AI, and I'm the stock market guy, and it's my specialty. That's what I focus on for the last 20-ish years. You know, Brittany helped put me on the coolest pedestal in the world, and now I'm one of the most sought after stock market analysts on earth. And it's a privilege and honor to just be around people that know how easy this stuff is, because that's my specialty. I have to make it easy for me. I needed to make it easy for me so that I can understand it. And I take it from me and I give it to you in an easy way, because money can be hard. Wealth can be hard. Relationships can be hard. They can also be easy. Relationships can be easy. Eating right can be easy. I mean, look how shredded Brittany Faith Turner looks right now. Like eating well, having great relationships, having incredible wealth can be easy if you want it to be, but it starts with the mindset, it starts with the belief system. And AI is going to make a lot of things easier. It will make a lot of things easier, and it will impact the stock market. So what I want every one of you to do is, because you can spend time and you can spend money, but we need to start spending both of those things as soon as humanly possible, as in like today, tomorrow, this weekend, next week, the week after that, the month after that, the quarter after that. Spend time actually thinking about how AI is going to impact companies, stocks, right? Spend time deliberating over that. There is a book, boys and girls. You already know what I'm about to say. The name of the book, the title of the book is not Work Harder to Make More Money. That's not the name of the book. The name of the book is Think and Grow Rich. Why do we not think more? You're spending time doing. You're a really, really cool human doing. How much time do you actually spend thinking? And if you can give real dedicated thoughts to some of these questions, I can assure you that you'll be able to make better investments than if you do not think about these questions, right? Which companies will be affected negatively and positively? Will there be companies, type in a one, if there'll be companies that will expand dramatically and exponentially because of AI? All right, cool. Type in a two if there's going to be some companies that are going to go bankrupt. They're not going to make it because everything got outsourced. They don't have to do anything anymore. Yeah. So, all right, everyone typing in ones and twos. So you know there's been companies that make it and you know there's companies that won't. All right, well, that's important to know. Now, okay, not only companies, but what industries? How is healthcare going to be affected? How is transportation, computers, right? Think about industries, companies, the service industry. And of course, which companies will make more money because of AI and which companies will make less money because of AI. One of the things I love teaching people, and I love sharing with individuals, is in the stock market, you can make money in any direction. You simply have to know what direction it's going. You have to spend time thinking, spend time analyzing. And if it's going down, you can make money going down. If it's going up, well, everyone knows how to make money when it's going up. When it's going up, it's pretty easy. But when it's going down, it's even easier if you know what you're doing. And it's extremely important to know. Because if a company, and can I go ahead and just give you one? Can type in a three if I just give you a company that will make less money? It's been one of my call outs for the last year and a half, but I feel like I'm right on this one. It's Adobe. I think Adobe's toast. I think they're toast. I don't think they're going to make it. I haven't bought any Adobe in the last 2 years, and it's been going down perpetually. Now, why would I say that? Well, because everything Adobe does and stands for and people pay for can be outsourced now with ChatGPT or Grok or whatever your favorite AI tool is for free or for nothing. And everyone's canceling their Adobe subscriptions left and right. Now, does that mean you have to make money on it as it goes down? No, but maybe just abilide buying it because I think they're the Kodak of 1990. Kodak was like, digital phones are dumb. No one needs digital phones, digital cameras, digital, right? They're like, film is going to be hot and sexy forever. And that was it. That was a hill they died on. So there will be some companies that will make less money. There'll be a lot of companies that are going to do very well. I really, really want to be with you in person and brainstorm not only how your companies, if you're a business owner, or the companies that you work in, if you're an employee, or companies that you own, what industries will be very, very positively affected by AI, which ones you can invest in, how you can be a participant. I would love to brainstorm with you in person on this because it is going to matter. I promise you. When Brittany and myself and a bunch of other people got together and spent days and weeks and months talking about how COVID's going to negatively and positively impact companies, guess what we did? We invested into a lot of those companies. And they worked. Not all of them, but we crushed, is the short answer. We absolutely slayed it. So that's what we're doing right now. AI is a very, very real trend that's going to last for a very long time, and we need to take advantage of it. That's called abundance, not being afraid, but stepping into, hey, I don't know everything. Cool, let's study it. Because I want you to write this down. Yep, you're good, Gabby. I want you to write this down. The AI is the new speed economy. It is the new speed economy. And guess what is the fastest speed vehicle on earth for wealth creation? Go ahead and hit me with a gabby gabs. What is the number one, the fastest, the best, the most prolific? It is the stock market. And I know that you're going to say, Jeremy, I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough time. I had a good friend. Her name is BFT. That's our short version. BFT said both the billionaire and the beggar have the same 24 hours in a day. You got the time. I would rather see your list of excuses. That's better than you telling me that you don't have the time. Just go ahead and just write out your list of 15 things that you have to do that are more of a priority to you than learning how to trade the fastest wealth vehicle in the world. Because your boy's going to be a billionaire by the time I'm 55. I'm letting you all know that now. And it's because I interact with speed and I understand volatility very well. And volatility, boys and girls, can sound like a scary word, but volatility means speed. That's what it means. And all of you will choose speed if you know the direction that it's going. So the old way is not going to last. It's not. The old way is if, hey, I'm going to buy a stock and I'm going to hold it for, 9 years. And it's going to go up or down a little bit, but I'm going to be in for, 9 whole years. And I hope that it works out. That's not going to work well for cash flow creation. That's not going to work well for abundance. It can work well for long-term appreciation because Brittany is correct. 90% of millionaires are made from real estate. 100% of billionaires are made from equities. The stock market just happens to be a different ball game. It's a game that you have to understand because I don't think anyone here wants 17.8% return over 5 years. I don't think that you want that. I don't feel like that's a really good return when my boy Phil made that yesterday, right? I don't think that a 17% return over 4 years is good enough, right? The definition of abundance was having more than enough. Type in a 9 if you would like to have more than enough money monthly. Because you simply said, all right, I think I have 24 hours in a day. I've seen the math and I would like to understand how to actively participate in the speed economy, which is AI. It's here. It's not going away. And it's going to make the stock market even faster. That's what's going to happen, team. That's what I'm telling you. It's going to happen even quicker. The volatility of the markets will be even faster, ups and downs. So instead of making 17.8% return over like a 7-8 year perspective, what if, this is this, what's amazing about this stupid slide that I've had on this for Walt Disney for like 47 different presentations is the same numbers keep working. Every time I show this, you know how many times Disney has gone down to 95.50 and gone back up to 112? Like 17 different times. Every time I pull up the slides, like I can add another one if I really wanted to. It's unbelievable how fast this thing moves. And it's Walt Disney. The most boring. It's so boring if you're holding it for 17 years. But if you're actively trading it, this is a 17% return 3 different times. That is called compounding interest. When you make money on your money, guess what your money does? It makes more money. When you make more money, you have more money. It's just one of those math formulas you can write down. And when you have more money and then you make more money with your more money, you actually have more of more money. And when you have more of more money is actually more than more money. And then when you take more and more money and you make money, then you have more money. And that becomes even more exciting. I want all of you to make more money. I want you to just step into it and go, please, God, I know you got some money. Give me some. If you believe in a God of abundance, then just ask for more. Go get more. Go step into why you don't actually feel like you deserve more money and start understanding that component of your internal structure. And that, my dear friends, is what we have to do together. That is a physical, non-AI skill set, is getting in the right rooms. The best ticket, the best asset you could probably ever buy is the ticket into the room. And Brittany and myself and Paulie and so many of you on this call have bought those tickets over and over and over and over because it is worth it and you've seen the results in your life. That's why I've seen the results. You've seen the results. It's all possible. It's all doable. We can all do this. It's all available to us. Is the stock market just for rich white guys? No. Doesn't matter your skin color. Doesn't matter how much money you got. Can felons, people who have gotten out of jail and prison, can they interact with the stock market? Yep. If you're a veteran and you're retired, can you participate in the stock market? Yep. If you're a grandmother to 4 grandkids, can you participate in the stock market or are you too old? It's available for everyone. It's available for you. It's available for your kids. I understand that you're going to say to yourself, I don't have the time. You do. Now think about this. What if you bought Kohl's? And I might have you skip a couple more slides, Gabs, but if you bought Kohl's, this is in 2000, and you held Kohl's for 20 years, it was the exact same price. Because that's the other thing is, what if you buy a stock and it doesn't go higher? That's even worse. Then you have negative monies. What's not as good as having more money is having negative monies. Negative monies is not good. That's the exact opposite of what you want to do. But look how active and how beautiful Kohl's actually moved over that same time period. And what I want you to lock in on is this. The numbers are the exact same. You know what was cool about Paulie when he said, I'm buying this house for 130. They're asking 150, so I got it for $20,000 off, and I could sell it for this amount because the comparables, blah, 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 blah. Paulie does the same flipping thing all the time. That's it. He does the same thing. He has a formula. He has a metric. It's not exciting. It's not cool. That's why he's so excited, because what he does is boring AF. So is what I do. So boring. It's the same thing all the time. Here's the numbers. Does it work? Yes, it does. Okay, cool. And you start doing it, because if you have a formula and if you have a system, does that give you more opportunities to win? Yes or no? And the answer is yes. We need you to have the systems for your money, for your wealth, and for your impact. So if all this stuff is so easy, how come everyone doesn't do it? Like every time I do a presentation, every single time, this is the biggest question I ask. Newsom, how come everyone's not a millionaire? Dude, if the stock market thing is so easy. Well, how come everyone hasn't done an Ironman? Those are also pretty easy to do, Phil. Right? Ironmans are really easy. But you know what's a lot easier than doing an Ironman? Not doing an Ironman. I promise, dude. It's a lot easier, bro. Oh my goodness. Right? Not doing an Ironman is a lot easier than doing an Ironman. Not making $1 million, that's easier than making $1 million. It's easy to make $1 million. Buy something for one, sell it for two. You made $1 million. Congratulations. It's easy to make $1 million. It's a lot easier not to make $1 million, though. People are scared. Losing terrifies people. So what we have to understand is I want and I need to teach more people this. And that's one of the amazing gifts that Brittany has given me, is she's given me a container to teach more people, along with Paulie and herself. I can look at many of you on this phone call, name you by name, talk about all the money that you've made in the markets, and just understand how the wealth game has changed for you, because we haven't gone anywhere. We're doing the same thing, talking the same message, helping the same people. When you're asking yourself, when would I like to create a shift in my life? You're going to pull up a calendar. You're going to look for the next 5 or 6 months away. And if you're starting to look for someday I will invest into myself and truly create a remarkable, radical change, you're not going to find that day on the calendar. So instead of someday, make it Sunday. Do it soon. This is an example of soon. I really would love to spend so much time with you in person, so that myself, Paulie, Brittany can hold your hand and physically show you what to do, what buttons to press. Remember how Paulie just dropped this insane acronym, DSCR loans? Do you know he has showed probably 35 people at Abundance how to actually apply and fill one of those things out? And of the 35 people he's shown, over 10 people have done it, and all 10 of those people have made a couple $100,000. Brandy says, I'm going to be there in April. Come on, Brandy, let's go. Oh, I'm pumped. I'm flipping pumped. So I want to invite you. I want to invite you to the room. I want to invite you to elevate, to change your entire financial sequence. Because can I be honest with you, team? I'm kind of tired of doing it by myself. Tired of doing it by myself with the same people all the time. I want more of you to do it with me, with Brittany, with Paulie. I want you to change with me, because I'm putting in the work. I hope you see it all the time. I'm doing the things. And it's from a place of growth. It's from a place of love. It's from a place of inspiration. Our girl, Rachel, right here, who's such a vibrant soul, when she was at Abundance, this is in 2021. She had this amazing idea about creating a company that really no one told her would work. And then when she told Brittany and myself, we're like, yeah, that would work amazing. It was a cookie company.
Great idea.
It was a great idea, but we're like, oh, how's a cookie company great? Because she did it with an extremely intentional purpose, and it was an elevated product. It wasn't like cookies, right? It was this beautiful packaging, this incredible wrapping, this very healthy, organic, gluten-free, all the things, right? Plus 10% would get donated to a beautiful charity or nonprofit. So she created this remarkable product and program and offering, and ends up taking this non-existent cookie company. When she sat down with us in person, we helped her build this business plan. The year later, I believe, if I'm correct, she did over $600,000 of flipping cookie sales.
Cookies.
Cookie
Big
sales and
profit margin in that one.
smoke show. Smoke show.
And that's cookies. That's not even the people who ended up, you get Polly's number, you get my number, you get Newsom's number, you can ask them questions. And one of our heroes invested and came in, and he ended up investing in a project in Washington where he lived, made over $400,000 on his first deal. First deal.
Yeah,
Never
yeah,
done
you
it
did.
before. Guys, it's about being in the room. It's a weird osmosis, and it's hard because we're on Zoom right now and the world is losing its touch. But there's something that opens the door and says, this is now possible for me when you're in the room. And I actually realized you've got to be in the room with people who are doing well, especially around scary times, guys, because they will normalize what doing well looks like for you.
Come
And
on.
if you've normalized suffering in your life, you've got to overcome that struggle and turn it into a story, instead of a story of struggle, into a story of success. And this is something I've had to work on so many times in my life because of that childhood belief system. And so that's something that I want you guys to be learning. I want you to be meeting my mentors in this space. Again, they are better than me. I want you to learn how I did the island. I want you to hear the real estate pieces of what it looks like and what it's about to look like. How am I even harnessing the next market of wellness tourism using what I'm learning on my own cancer healing journey to be able to invest with the lessons I'm learning. And so with that, there's so much that you guys are going to get out of this. For those who can come, obviously, I hope you got so much value out of today. We're here to be a blessing, but we have had a lot of people say, when are you doing the next one? This is when the next one is. You're going to get clear on your purpose. You're going to scale your business. You're going to be able to brainstorm, whiteboard with us, learn wealth building. I'm telling you the amount of real practical tools you are going to gain from being in the room, not just theory. I can't freaking stand theory. I cannot stand theory. Well, there's ways you can do deals. No, Polly's going to sit down and show you the actual tools and mechanisms on how to go do these deals. And the same thing with Newsom. Obviously, I will do the same. But it does start with that foundation. It starts with the community. It starts with that mindset to even allow yourself to go to a level that you've never been to before.
Come on. Come on. Can you come? Who can come? Please come. This is the same fear that so many people have, is if I commit to this, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do? Every single one of us has the same fears. We're all human. I get it. If you spend money, you have less money. That's a math formula. It's a true math formula. But what you're forgetting is the other part of the formula. If I spend money, I have less money, and I have gained what you spent the money on. Most people will spend this amount of money on a car immediately, instantly. People that don't even have it. What are you doing? Right? And many of you on this call have been here before. So this will be my invite for you to come again so that we can review, so that we can look at, so that we can tweak, we can alter, we can adjust, we can update. But I need you to be here, because regardless of what the surroundings that you live in tell you about how great you are, one of the greatest skills I've ever seen Brittany do is show you a 90-day roadmap on stop doing this, do this, remove this, do this a lot more, don't do this at all. And then you'll have this. Polly, same exact thing, except even more tactical and more specific. And when you combine the award-winning location, the miraculous views, the healing that you're going to receive, what it does is it gives you the opportunity to finally step into grace, finally step into bigness, and finally step into more. Because very, very often when you're asking for more, but you're not doing anything to show God that you're ready for more, why would you get it? A blessing given too early is a curse. And so if you aren't prepared for the more because you haven't shown yourself that you are ready for the more, the best way to show yourself is to pay attention. And every time I pay attention. And the more I pay, the more I pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
It is a life-changing event. We have done this for over 6 years. We have 0 negative reviews. And I would love for you to reach out to our girl, Gabby, or myself, or Polly, or Brittany. You guys all probably have our numbers or Instagrams or whatever. Message us.
We're always here.
We're always
We're
here.
always here. How many times in the pool, the information, we're on this beautiful island and I'm just
Oh, yeah.
teaching, answering questions. I mean, it's just, it is life changing. It truly is. It's so, I look forward to it because not only that, but Brittany always attracts such great people too. And that's the joyous part of it all. And you leave there a different person, man. I promise.
It's the funnel for my friends. This is how you get to know each other. Spend 4 or 5 days together on a private island doing breakfast, lunch, dinner, whiteboarding in the pool, petting some ponies, and swimming, listening to Polly's stories and learning, guys. There's nothing more connecting than that. But most importantly, we want you to walk in your purpose. We want you to step into your power and realize you are here for a reason. You are not an accident. There's still more for you to do if you are here. And wealth and abundance will do nothing but fuel the impact that you're called to make. I've met the kids that need you. I've been in all these countries that need you. I've been in my own backyard that needs you. Your families need you. We're going to start by being the abundant, loving leader that isn't stressed the heck out all the time in our own home before we impact the world. But we love you and we want to see you achieve your greatness. And that's why we do these summits, guys. This was a sold out event. We had 4 people move to the October one due to family issues. And so there's a reason there are 4 spots open. Somebody on this call is meant to be on that island. I fully believe in that because there's only 30 people can go max. 30 people on the entire planet. Is one of those 4 spots for you? We'd love to hear from you. And with that, DM us your top takeaways from today's call. We can't wait to see you guys on the island, and we hope you got a lot of value out of hearing from my mentors. Love you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, Al.